My best friend tried to destroy my marriage, and I still don't know why. I met my husband when I was 11. We moved to a new country, I didn't know anyone, and my sister-in-law introduced me to Sarah. Sarah was the same age as me, 11. She became my anchor. We grew up together, shared our first crushes, our first heartbreaks. We were at each other's weddings. She was my maid of honor. I thought we were unbreakable. Fast forward to last year. I'm 29, married for 5 years, and we have a 2-year-old. Life is busy but good. I work in an office from 9 to 2, then I usually grab a second breakfast at a cafe near my job or sometimes walk 5 minutes to my husband's office to say hi. He runs his own business, owns a small shop downtown. We have a solid routine. Sarah and I still talk almost every day. We hit the same Saturday gym class together. I thought everything was fine. Last Wednesday was supposed to be a work trip. I had to travel to a city about 2 hours away for a client meeting. But Tuesday night, a red alert came through about the weather, flood warnings, heavy rain expected all day Wednesday. My company canceled the trip. I stayed home with my toddler. My husband left around 6 in the morning to check his shop, put up flood barriers, make sure everything was secure. He was back by 7:30 making pancakes in the kitchen. It didn't even start raining until 1 in the afternoon. We spent the whole day inside watching movies, playing blocks, napping. I didn't leave the house. Neither did he. At 3 o'clock that afternoon, Sarah texted me. "Are you home already? It's flooding where you were supposed to be." I replied, "Home safe." "Stayed home because of the alert, it's fine." We texted a bit back and forth, just normal stuff. I didn't think anything of it. Saturday came, we went to our usual gym class. Afterwards, Sarah grabbed my arm and said, "We need to talk in private." Her face was pale. I thought maybe she had some bad news about her family. We walked out to my car, sat in the front seats, and she looked at me with this expression like she was about to deliver a death blow. Then she said it. "On Wednesday, I saw your husband. He was with a woman, they were making out, and your kid was in the car." I just froze. My brain stopped working. For a split second, my heart dropped into my stomach, then something clicked. Wednesday, I was home with my husband and baby. We never left the house. I could picture him flipping pancakes, his ratty old t-shirt, the way he kept making silly faces at our son. I asked her 3 times, "Are you sure it was this Wednesday?" 3 times she said yes. About 11 in the morning? Yes. During the red alert? Yes. She even described my husband making out with some gorgeous blonde with perfect hair in the parking lot near his shop. She went into detail what he was wearing, how he had his arm around her waist. It sounded so specific, but I knew for a fact it couldn't have happened. I didn't scream, I didn't cry, I just looked at her and said, "Sarah, I was home with him all day, he made breakfast, we watched the rain, my kid didn't leave the house." Her face went blank, then she started stammering. Maybe it was a different day, maybe I got the dates mixed up. But she had been so sure. She told me she drove past his shop around 11 and saw the whole thing. She said she was worried about me. She said she felt sick keeping it secret. And now she was backpedaling, saying, "Oh, maybe it was last week." Or the week before. I asked her again, very calmly, "Did you actually see him or did you just see a car that looked like his?" She said she saw him. I asked if she spoke to him. No. I asked if the woman noticed her. No. I asked for the exact location. She hesitated, then gave a street name that wasn't even near his shop. That was when I knew she was lying. I didn't confront her right there. I drove home in a daze, my hands shaking on the wheel. I called my mom, then my sister, then my husband. I told him what Sarah said. He was confused, then angry, then he laughed, the kind of laugh that's half relief, half frustration. "Babe, I didn't leave the house Wednesday. You were with me. We can check the doorbell camera if you want." I already knew I didn't need the camera, but I couldn't let it go. Sarah had been my best friend for 18 years. Why would she make up something like that? Why would she try to convince me my husband was cheating? I kept replaying the conversation in my head. The way she leaned in, her voice low and conspiratorial. The way she seemed almost excited to tell me. The way her story unraveled so quickly when I pushed back. I reached out to a mutual friend, someone I trust. I told her what happened, just the bare facts. She went quiet for a long time, then said, "I'm not surprised. Sarah's been talking about you nonstop lately. She's been saying your marriage is in trouble, that you're always complaining about your husband, but you've never said that to me." I hadn't said that to anyone. My marriage is solid. We fight about laundry and whose turn it is to get up with the toddler, but we're happy. Another friend told me Sarah had been posting vague things on social media, things like "some people don't deserve what they have and loyalty means nothing these days." I had seen those posts and assumed they were about something else. Now I wonder if they were aimed at me. I still don't know why she did it. Maybe she wanted me to be single like her. Maybe she wanted to prove she cared more about my well-being than my husband did. Maybe she just likes the drama, or maybe she's jealous, I don't know. But I do know this, I cannot trust her again. I confronted her one more time a few days later. I asked for the truth. She broke down crying, said she must have imagined it. She said she was just so worried about me, she convinced herself it was real. I told her she could have destroyed my family. She apologized. But an apology doesn't undo the fact that she was willing to lie about the father of my child, about the man I've loved since I was 11. I haven't spoken to her since. We share a gym class, but I go at a different time now. Our mutual friends are awkward about it. Some of them think I'm overreacting, that she just made a mistake. But this wasn't a mistake. This was a planned, detailed accusation. She had every piece of the story ready. The only reason it didn't work is that I happened to be home that day. What if I had actually been on that work trip? What if I had believed her? I would have come home and demanded a divorce. I would have torn my family apart. And for what? So she could have more time with me, so she could have a single mom friend? I don't know. All I know is that sometimes the people closest to you are the ones holding the knife. And you don't see it coming until they've already swung. That story still haunts me, but I've got another one that's even worse. This one involves family, cancer, and the ultimate betrayal. I'm 25 and my stepsister is 23. Our parents married when I was 4 and she was 3, so we grew up together, basically sisters. We were extremely close. I mean, we shared a room for years, told each other everything, had the same friends. I loved her like crazy. Then she got cancer when she was 14. She was sick for about 2 years. It was brutal. Chemo, hospital stays, all of it. My parents became overprotective, understandably, but they put a lot on me. I had to quit my high school volleyball team, which I was devastated about, but I got over it. I got a job to help with her medical bills. I drove her to appointments. I skipped dances and parties because she couldn't go, and if I did anything fun, she had to be included. I did most of it willingly. I mean, she was my sister and she was fighting for her life, but it was a lot. I had one emotional breakdown about the volleyball thing and my parents punished me for it. I still feel guilty about that. Anyway, she made a full recovery. We were both in our 20s by then. I went to college, met a guy, let's call him Ben. We fell in love, moved in together after graduation, lived together for 3 years. It was serious. I thought we were going to get married. Then last July I came home early from work. I walked into our bedroom and saw Ben fucking my sister. I don't think I need to describe that feeling. It's like the floor disappears. I just stood there. They both looked up. My sister scrambled off him, pulling the sheets. Ben said something like, "It's not what it looks like." I didn't scream. I just turned around, walked out, and sat in my car for an hour. Then I went to a friend's house. I broke it off with Ben that night. He moved out. My sister apologized at first, crying, saying she was sorry, that it was a mistake, that she would never do it again. I told her I needed space. I thought she was giving it to me. But a few weeks later, she called and asked to meet up at a restaurant. I agreed. She sat down across from me and she looked nervous but determined. She said, "Me and Ben are in love. We're together now. We're just telling you as a courtesy before we start posting photos online." I felt like someone punched me in the gut. I didn't say anything. I just stood up, walked out of the restaurant, and left her there. I didn't pay my portion of the bill. She Venmo'd me later asking for the money. I didn't respond. She told my parents. They called me to their house and my mom and dad sat me down and told me how disappointed they were. They said I was being selfish, that I needed to support my sister's relationship. My dad brought up the cancer. He said, "After everything she went through, you can't give her this one thing. She loves him. You need to get over it." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I told them she slept with my boyfriend in our bed. That's not loving him. That's betrayal. And you're taking her side. My mom said, "You're being dramatic. It's been months. Just let them be happy." I left. I didn't speak to any of them for a while. My sister kept sending me texts, some apologetic, some angry, some guilt-trippy. She said things like, "I know I hurt you, but I've had cancer. I almost died. Can't you let me have this?" She also said Ben was the only one who really understood her, that they had a deep connection. I started doing some digging. I talked to mutual friends. It turned out Ben and my sister had been hooking up for months before I caught them. He had been complaining to his friends about me, saying I was too focused on work, too boring. Meanwhile, he was buying my sister gifts, taking her out. Everyone knew except me. Then a few months after I went no contact with my family, I found out my dad had set up a meeting with me and my sister, supposedly to talk. I agreed to meet him at a restaurant. I showed up, sat there for 45 minutes. He never came, he didn't call, he didn't text. I found out later he never intended to show. He wanted to teach me a lesson about forgiveness. My mom backed him up. That was the final straw. I cut off contact with all 3 of them. I moved to a different city. I changed my number. I blocked them on everything. A year later, my sister reached out through a mutual friend. She said she and Ben had broken up. He had cheated on her with someone else. She wanted me to know she was sorry, that she realized she had been selfish. She wanted to reconnect. I haven't replied. I don't think I ever will. Some bridges can't be rebuilt, and I don't care if she had cancer. That doesn't give her the right to destroy my relationship, my trust, my entire family. It doesn't give her the right to have my parents hate me for protecting myself. I still have nightmares about walking into that room. I still feel sick when I think about her texts, but I also feel free. I don't owe anyone forgiveness. And I'm done being the one who sacrifices everything while everyone else gets a pass. But that's not the only story that stuck with me. Another one hit even closer to home because it involved losing yourself completely in someone else, only to be discarded like trash. I'm 27 now, but when this happened I was still 26. My ex Nate and I were together for 9 years, 9 years. We met in high school when I was 17 and he was 16. I was his first everything, first girlfriend, first kiss, first real relationship. I thought we'd be together forever. I gave him everything. During his senior year, he went through a really dark depression. His parents disowned him for 3 years because they didn't agree with the college or major he chose. They cut him off completely. I was in college too, but I worked 2 jobs to support us. I paid for our apartment, our food, his textbooks. I helped him keep his grades up. I stayed up with him when he couldn't sleep. I never complained. After about 3 years, his parents started talking to him again and they started financially supporting him. We moved into a new apartment, a nicer one. Nate told me he wanted me to quit my job. He said, "It's my turn to take care of you now." I didn't quit, I kept working part-time because I've always been independent, but I did cut back. For about 16 months it was great, he spoiled me. He took me out to dinner, bought me little gifts, planned surprises. I thought we were finally in a good place. Then I noticed he started pulling away. He got a new group of friends from work and he'd spend more time with them than with me. He'd ignore my texts, come home late, and when I asked about his day, he'd give one-word answers. In December, he did a complete 180. He love-bombed me like crazy. He made Christmas magical, bought me expensive presents, cooked my favorite meals, took me to see the lights in the city. I honestly thought he was going to propose. On January 2nd, he made me my favorite dinner, spaghetti with meatballs, the same thing he made on our first date. He gave this long speech about how I was his first love, how I'd been there since high school, how I helped him through everything. I sat there with tears in my eyes, waiting for him to pull out a ring, but instead he dumped me. He said, "You were a good girlfriend, but that's what you'll always be to me, a girlfriend. I don't see you as my wife or the mother of my children. I'm sorry, but I need to move on." I didn't scream, I didn't cry, I just sat there staring at the half-eaten spaghetti. He kept talking, but I didn't hear any of it. He said he still wanted to be friends. He said I deserve someone better. He said all the cliches. Then he got up and left. I sat at that table for an hour. The food got cold. I finally got up, cleaned the kitchen, and went to bed. I cried for 3 days straight. We had 9 years together. I helped him through depression. I worked 2 jobs to keep us afloat. I put my own dreams on hold for him. And he didn't see me as wife material. I was good enough to take care of him, but not good enough to marry. I went no contact after that. I moved out of the apartment, blocked him on everything, and focused on rebuilding my life. It took months, but I started feeling like myself again. I got a promotion at work, made new friends, started going to the gym. I was finally happy. Then in April of this year, he reached out. Out of nowhere, I got a text from a number I didn't recognize. It was him. He said he needed to get something off his chest and could we meet for coffee? I almost deleted it. But curiosity got the better of me. I agreed to meet him at a Starbucks near my office. I figured I was over him, so what could it hurt? He showed up looking nervous and pathetic. He couldn't even look me in the eye. He told me that after he dumped me, he started dating a coworker, a woman he had been crushing on for months. He said he ended things with me because he thought they were meant to be together. He confessed that he had been emotionally cheating on me with her for a while, texting her all the time, going out for drinks after work. But here's the funny part, she didn't want him. When he told her he had broken up with me for her, she laughed in his face. She said she saw him as a friend and that he was a piece of trash for leaving me the way he did. She told him if he ever spoke to her again, she'd report him for harassment. So he was alone. He had thrown away a 9-year relationship for a woman who didn't even like him. And then he had the audacity to reach out to me, hoping I would take him back. I sat there, sipping my iced coffee and listened to him ramble about how he had made a mistake, how he realized I was the one, how he missed me. I felt nothing, no anger, no sadness, just a cold, quiet satisfaction. When he finished, I said, "Nate, I don't feel anything for you anymore. You made your choice. You treated me like a placeholder. I hope you find what you're looking for, but it's not me." He started crying, he begged, he said he'd do anything. I just got up, walked out, and blocked his new number. A week later, I found out he had been stalking my social media, making fake accounts to watch my stories, sending anonymous messages to my friends asking about me. I had to change my privacy settings and report him. It was creepy, but it also confirmed I made the right decision. That story taught me that you can give someone everything and they'll still throw you away for a fantasy. But you know what? I'm better off. I'm not the same girl who would work 2 jobs for a man who didn't appreciate her. I know my worth now. But that's not the last betrayal story I want to tell you. There's one more that still makes me angry, and it involves a 16-year-old boy, a pregnant ex-girlfriend, and a family that just couldn't accept the truth. So this one is about my son. He's 16 now, just turned. He had a girlfriend, also 16, almost 17. They broke up about a month ago. 3 weeks after the breakup, her parents called us. They said she was pregnant and she was already showing a little. The dates lined up with when she and my son were together. My wife and I panicked. We sat my son down and I asked him straight up, "Is it yours?" He looked me right in the eye and said, "No, I never had sex with her." I didn't believe him at first. I know he's sexually active. He's asked me for condoms before and I've had the talk with him about being safe. But he kept insisting. He said they only ever did oral stuff and that was it. He said he actually cheated on her because she wasn't willing to go further. I know that makes him a complete shithead, but I started to believe him. My wife was furious. She said I was enabling him, that I was part of boy culture. She wanted to accept paternity and figure out custody and child support. The two families met. My wife started talking about solutions, financial support, shared custody, all of it. But my son spoke up again, angry this time, and said, "It's not mine. Never had sex, I don't know who the father is, but it's not me." His ex-girlfriend admitted that they rarely had sex, but she described one specific event, a time and place that actually seemed believable. I was torn. My son is a known liar, but something felt off. Then my son dropped a bomb. He said, "Dad, I'm gay. I've been seeing a guy at school for months. We have sex. I always wear a condom. There's no way I got her pregnant." I almost dropped my coffee. My wife started crying. She didn't believe him at first. She thought he was making it up to get out of responsibility. But then he showed us texts on his phone, lovey-dovey messages to a boy named Jake, pictures of them together. It was real. We had a long talk. I told him I was proud of him for being honest, but also grounded him for the cheating and the lying. But the pregnancy wasn't his. His ex-girlfriend eventually admitted the baby might be from another guy, a guy she had been seeing on the side. My wife was humiliated. She had been so sure my son was the father, she had already bought baby clothes and started planning a nursery. I won't lie, it was a mess. But in the end, my son came out to us and we're working on accepting that. His ex-girlfriend's family dropped the paternity claim, and I learned that sometimes the truth is way more complicated than you ever expect. I still think about these stories sometimes. They remind me that betrayal comes from the people you trust most, best friends, sisters, lovers, even your own family, but they also remind me that you can survive it. You can walk away, rebuild, and find your own peace. But not every betrayal comes with a neat resolution. Sometimes it's the people closest to you, the ones who have known you since childhood, who stab you in the back for reasons you'll never understand. That's what happened to me with my best friend, Sarah. My 29 best friend 29 tried to sabotage my marriage and I still don't know why. I met Sarah when I was 11 years old. My family had just moved to a new country and my sister-in-law introduced us. Sarah was the same age as me and we clicked instantly. We went through middle school, high school, and college together. When I started dating my now husband at 21, she was my biggest cheerleader. She was in our wedding. She was the godmother of my 2-year-old son. I trusted her with everything. But about 6 months ago, something changed. I didn't notice it at first. Little comments here and there. She'd say things like, "You're so lucky your husband lets you work," or "I don't know how you handle him being so controlling." I'd brush it off because she was my best friend and I figured she was just being protective. I work in an office from 9 to 2 with a 30-minute break around 10:30. Sometimes I grab a second breakfast at a cafe near my job, or I walk 5 minutes to my husband's office to say hi. He owns a small business and it's close by. Occasionally, I have to travel to another city for work, and I always mention it to Sarah in casual conversation. Last week, I had a work trip scheduled for Wednesday, but Tuesday night, a red alert came through about severe weather, flooding expected the next day. My company canceled the trip. So Wednesday morning, I stayed home with my son. My husband went out at 6 in the morning to his business to make sure it was closed and to put up flood protection. He was back by 7:30 and we made breakfast together. It didn't even start raining until 1 in the afternoon. We spent the whole day inside watching movies, playing with our son. At 3 in the afternoon, Sarah texted me, "Are you home already? It's flooding where you were traveling." I texted back, "Home safe," and didn't think anything of it. Saturday, Sarah and I go to the same gym class. We usually grab coffee after. But this time she pulled me aside and said we needed to talk in private. We went out to my car in the parking lot. She looked nervous, almost excited. She said, "On Wednesday, I saw your husband with a woman. They were making out in his car. Your kid was in the back seat." I froze. My stomach dropped. For a second, I couldn't breathe. But then I remembered I was home with my husband all day Wednesday. He never left after 7:30. We were together making pancakes, building forts, taking a nap. There was no way. I asked her 3 times if she was sure it was this past Wednesday. She said yes 3 times. I asked what time. She said about 11 in the morning. I asked if it was during the red alert. She said yes. I asked if she was 100% sure. She launched into this detailed description of my husband kissing a gorgeous blonde, a Barbie-looking girl in a car near the gym. She said the kid was crying in the back. She even described what he was wearing, a blue jacket I know he hadn't worn in months. I said, "Sarah, I was home with my husband all day. He didn't leave. We have the security camera footage to prove it." She went pale. Her mouth opened and closed. Then she started backpedaling. "Maybe it was a different day," she said. "Maybe I got the day wrong." I said, "You said it was Wednesday during the red alert. You described it perfectly. How could you be so sure if it didn't happen?" She started crying. She said she must have misremembered. She said she was just trying to protect me. She said my husband was too good looking and I should be careful. I told her to stay away from me. I drove home and told my husband everything. He was furious. We checked our security cameras. The footage showed him coming home at 7:30 and not leaving until Friday. There was no way. I called Sarah the next day and asked her point blank, "Why did you lie?" She said she didn't lie. She said she believed she saw him. But then she slipped up. She mentioned she had been following my husband for a few weeks. She said she wanted to catch him in the act because she thought I deserved better. I asked her why. She said, "Because you're my best friend and I didn't want you to get hurt." But that didn't make sense. She was the one trying to hurt me. She was manufacturing drama. I ended the friendship. I changed my locks. I blocked her number. I told our mutual friends what happened. Most of them sided with me, but a few said I was overreacting, that Sarah was just looking out for me. I don't know why she did it. Jealousy? Boredom? Did she want me to be a single mom so we could hang out more? I'll never know. But I learned that even the people you've known since childhood can turn on you for no reason. That story still haunts me, but it also taught me to trust my gut. When someone tells you they saw something that can't be true, don't panic, check the facts, and cut off the ones who lie to you no matter how long you've known them. I never expected my best friend to be the one to try and destroy my marriage, but that wasn't the only betrayal I'd face. Sometimes the knife comes from someone even closer, someone you grew up with, someone you sacrificed everything for, and that's what happened with my sister. I'm 25 and my stepsister is 23. We met when I was 4 and she was 3 after my dad married her mom. We were sisters in every way that mattered. We shared a room, shared clothes, shared secrets. I thought we'd be close forever. Then she got cancer when she was 14. I remember the day my parents told me. I was in the kitchen making a sandwich after school. My dad sat me down and my mom was crying. They said my sister had leukemia. For the next 2 years, our whole world revolved around her treatment. I quit the high school volleyball team, something I'd worked for since I was 12, because I needed to get a job to help with the medical bills. I drove her to appointments, sat with her during chemo, held her hair back when she threw up. I didn't go to homecoming or prom because any fun activity I wanted to do had to include her and she was too sick to go out. I never complained. Not really. I mean, I threw one tantrum about the volleyball thing and my parents punished me for it. But looking back, I think I handled it pretty damn well for a teenager. She went into remission when she was 16, and by 18 she was declared cancer-free. I was so relieved. I thought our family could finally be normal. I went to college, met this guy named Ben when I was a junior. He was sweet, funny, ambitious. We fell in love. After graduation, we moved in together. We were together for about 3 years. I thought we were going to get married. I thought I had finally found my happy ending. Then in July, I came home early from work. I walked into our apartment and I heard noises from our bedroom. I opened the door and I saw Ben in our bed with my sister. I don't think I screamed. I think I just stood there frozen watching them. My sister saw me first, her face went white. Ben turned around and started stammering. I walked out, grabbed my keys and drove to a friend's house. I didn't cry until I got there. I broke up with Ben that night. He moved out within a week. My sister apologized at first, texted me saying she was so sorry, she didn't know what came over her, she'd never do it again. I didn't respond. I needed space. I thought she understood that. But then about a month later, she called me and asked if we could meet for dinner. I agreed, thinking she wanted to make things right. We sat down at a restaurant, and before I could even order, she said, "Me and Ben are in love. We're together now. I'm telling you as a courtesy before we start posting on social media." I stood up, walked out, and left her with the bill. I didn't pay my share. She Venmoed me later asking for the money. I ignored it. Then my parents called me to their house. They said they were disappointed in me. They brought up my sister's cancer, how she had suffered, how I should be more supportive of her happiness. I tried to explain that she had sex with my boyfriend of 3 years. They said she was sick, she deserves to be happy. They said Ben was a good man and I should just accept it. I told them I couldn't. My dad sighed and said, "We're going to have a family dinner next week. I want you to come and I want you to be civil." I agreed to go. But when I showed up at the restaurant, my dad was the only one there. He stood up, looked at me and said, "Your sister is not coming. And neither am I. I just wanted to tell you that if you can't support her, you're no longer welcome in this family." I sat down at the table alone. I ordered a glass of water. I stared at the empty chairs, and then I got up and left. That was the last time I saw any of them. I blocked their numbers. I moved to a different state. I started therapy. It took me months to stop crying. But eventually, I realized something. I had already given up everything for my sister, my teenage years, my hobbies, my sanity. I wasn't going to give up my self-respect too. A year later, I heard through mutual friends that Ben had cheated on my sister. Shocker, right? She found him in bed with someone else. She called me crying, apologizing, saying she understood now. I didn't pick up. I just deleted the voicemail. That story taught me that even blood doesn't mean loyalty. But sometimes betrayal comes from the one person you thought you'd spend your entire life with and then they just walk away. I was with my ex, Nate, for 9 years. We started dating when I was 18, he was 17, high school sweethearts. I gave him everything. I helped him through his depression. I worked 2 jobs so he could focus on college when his parents disowned him because they didn't agree with his major. I was also a college student, but I put his needs first. For almost 3 years, while his parents weren't speaking to him, I paid the rent, I bought the groceries, I drove him to class. Then his parents came back around, started supporting him financially, and we moved into a nicer apartment. He told me he wanted to take care of me. He said I should quit my job. I didn't. I kept working, but I appreciated the gesture. For 16 months, everything was great. He spoiled me. He cooked dinner, planned dates, bought me small gifts. I thought we were on track for marriage. Then around December, he did a complete 180. He love-bombed me all month. He made Christmas magical, decorated the tree together, bought me a necklace, wrote me a long letter. I honestly thought he was going to propose on January 2nd. He made my favorite dinner, lit candles, gave a speech about how I was his first love, how I'd been there since high school. I kept waiting for him to get down on one knee. Instead, he broke up with me. He said, "You've been a great girlfriend, but that's all you'll ever be to me. I don't see you as my wife or the mother of my children." I'm sorry. I was devastated. I cried for weeks. I lost weight, couldn't sleep. I thought I had done something wrong. Then a few months later, I heard through a mutual friend that Nate had gotten together with a coworker, a girl he'd been talking to for months while we were still together. He had been emotionally cheating the whole time. I didn't reach out. I was trying to heal. But then in April, he texted me out of the blue. He said he needed to talk, that he had something to get off his chest. I was curious, so I agreed to meet him for coffee. When I sat down, he looked nervous. He said, "I need you to know that I made a huge mistake. I ended things with you because I thought I was in love with my coworker. She was so exciting, so different from you. But when I told her I had broken up with you, she laughed in my face. She said she never wanted a relationship with me. She said I was just a distraction. And now I realize what I lost. You were perfect. I'm so sorry." I stared at him. All that pain, all those months of crying, and this is what he had to say. He wanted me to take him back. I stood up, grabbed my purse, and said, "Good luck with that," and walked out. He sent me a few texts since then. I've blocked him on everything. But I still think about those 9 years, all the time, energy, love I poured into someone who threw it away for a woman who didn't even want him. Betrayal leaves scars, but I've learned that you can't let it define you. You can walk away. You can start over. And eventually you can find people who won't try to burn your life down. I sat there in that coffee shop for a long time after he left. I watched him walk out the door and I thought about all those years, the 2 jobs, the sleepless nights helping him study, the way I put my own dreams on hold because he needed me. And for what? So he could chase a woman who didn't even want him. I finished my coffee, paid the bill, and went home. I didn't cry. I think I was just empty at that point. A few weeks later, I found out through a mutual friend that the coworker had started dating someone else from their office. Apparently, she told everyone that Nate was desperate and pathetic and that she never thought he'd actually leave me. She said she was just flirting for fun. I should have felt vindicated, but I just felt tired. 9 years of my life, and the man I loved threw it away for someone who thought he was a joke. I started going to therapy more regularly after that. My therapist told me something that stuck. You didn't lose him, he lost you, and eventually he'll realize that. I think he already did, judging by his texts, but I don't care anymore. I'm done being the one who gives everything and gets nothing back. Betrayal is weird like that. It doesn't always come from the people you expect. Sometimes it's your best friend, sometimes it's your sister, sometimes it's the man you've loved since you were a teenager. I found that out again in a different way when my son's life blew up last August. I'm a dad. I'm 47 years old, I've been married for 20 years, and I thought I knew my kid. He had just turned 16. He'd been dating this girl, Emily, for about 8 months. She was 16 too, almost 17. They seemed happy. They broke up about a month before everything went sideways. Then 3 weeks after the breakup, my wife and I got a call from Emily's parents. She was pregnant. She was already showing a little bit, and the timeline matched up with when she and my son had been together. My wife went into full panic mode. I did too, honestly. We waited a couple days before telling our son. He didn't know she was pregnant. When we sat him down and told him, he looked at us like we were speaking a different language. "That's not mine," he said. "I never fucked her." I didn't believe him at first. I knew he was active. He'd asked me for condoms before and I'd bought them for him. I had that conversation with him when he turned 15. Be safe, be respectful, don't be stupid. He seemed to listen, but he kept saying it. "We never did it, Dad, I swear." I pulled him aside later that night. I said, "Son, if you're the father, we need to know, we'll figure it out. But lying isn't going to help anyone." He looked me in the eye and said, "I cheated on her with someone else, that's why we broke up, but we never had sex, we did other stuff, but not that." I asked what other stuff meant. He got embarrassed, but he told me, "I won't repeat it here, but it wasn't PIV." And he said it was unsatisfying for both of them, so he never tried to go further. I believed him. I don't know why, but I did. Maybe because I could see the shame in his eyes. He knew he'd been a shithead for cheating on her, but he was telling the truth about not being the father. My wife didn't believe him. She said I was enabling him, that I was part of boy culture, whatever that means. She said the baby was going to be born into this world and our son needed to step up. We had a meeting with Emily's parents. My wife started talking about solutions, about child support, about how our families could work together. My son spoke up and said, "It's not my baby, we never had sex." Emily's parents looked shocked. Emily was sitting there crying. She admitted they rarely did it, but she pointed to a specific date and place. She seemed believable too. I was stuck in the middle. I believed my son, but I also knew he was a liar. He cheated on his girlfriend. He wasn't a saint, but something about his story felt true. My wife was furious. She said I was choosing my son over the truth. She said I was being naive. I suggested a paternity test. Emily's parents agreed. My wife said it was unnecessary, that we should just do the right thing, but I held my ground. The test came back 2 weeks later. The baby wasn't my son's. I thought that would be the end of it. I thought we could move on, but then my son started acting strange. He was secretive with his phone. He came home late. He was distant. One night, I was in the living room watching TV and I heard him on the phone in his room. He was whispering, but I caught the end of the conversation. "I love you too. I can't wait to see you." I asked him about it the next morning. He got defensive. He said it was a friend from school. I let it go, but my wife was still angry about the whole pregnancy thing. She kept bringing it up, saying I had undermined her, that I had made her look bad in front of Emily's parents. We started fighting all the time. She said I was a bad husband. I said she was controlling. Then about a month later, my son came to me and said he needed to tell me something. He was crying. He said, "Dad, I'm gay. The person I was talking to on the phone is my boyfriend. We've been together for 6 months." I sat there for a minute. I thought about the girl he cheated on, the pregnancy, all the chaos, and then I just hugged him. I said, "I love you, son. I'm proud of you for telling me." He told me he'd been scared to come out because of how his mom talked about gay people. She'd made jokes, said some things that weren't kind. He was afraid she'd reject him. I told my wife that night. She didn't take it well. She said it was a phase. She said he was confused. She said it was because I let him get away with everything. We're still dealing with it. My son is dating his boyfriend openly now. He's happier than I've ever seen him, but my wife is struggling. She's in denial, and I'm stuck in the middle again. I love my wife, but I can't let her hurt my son. I won't. Betrayal, I've learned, doesn't always look like cheating. Sometimes it's looking at the person you've been married to for 20 years and realizing you don't see them the same way anymore. Sometimes it's choosing your child over your spouse and knowing it's the right choice even if it breaks your heart. I don't know what's going to happen with my marriage, but I know my son deserves a parent who supports him, and I'm going to be that parent no matter what it costs. I didn't think my best friend would try to destroy my marriage, but here we are. I met Sarah when I was 11 years old. My family had just moved to a new country and my sister-in-law introduced us. We became inseparable. Through middle school, high school, college, all of it she was my person. I trusted her with everything. My secrets, my fears, my hopes, and for 18 years she never gave me a reason to doubt her. But last month she tried to blow my whole life up. I'm 29, my husband is 31, we have a 2-year-old son, we're not rich but we're comfortable. I work in an office from 9 to 2 and I usually take a 30-minute break for a second breakfast. Sometimes I walk over to my husband's office, it's 5 minutes away, or grab a coffee at a cafe near my job. Occasionally I have to travel for work to another city. I always mention it to Sarah casually, just in conversation. Nothing secret, nothing weird. Last week I was supposed to travel on Wednesday for work. But Tuesday night a red weather alert came through, flood warnings. My work trip got canceled, so I stayed home with my son. My husband left at 6 in the morning to make sure his business was closed up and to put out flood protection. By 7:30 he was back home making breakfast. The rain didn't even start until 1 in the afternoon. We stayed home all day Wednesday and Thursday, just the three of us. Boring, normal, perfect. Friday Sarah and I went to our usual gym class. Afterward, she pulled me aside and said we needed to talk in private. We went to my car. She looked serious, nervous. She said, "On Wednesday, I saw your husband with a woman. They were making out and your kid was in the car." I froze. My heart stopped. But then my brain caught up. I remembered I had been working from home with my husband and my baby for 2 days straight. He had never left the house except that morning for 20 minutes. I knew she was lying, but I couldn't understand why. I asked her 3 times if she was sure it was this past Wednesday. She confirmed it 3 times. I asked about the time. She said around 11 in the morning. I asked if it was during the red alert. She said yes. I asked if she was 100% sure. Then she launched into this whole description, my husband making out with a gorgeous blonde woman like a Barbie doll. She had clearly rehearsed it. I sat there in my car staring at her. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I just said, "That's weird because my husband was home with me and our son all day Wednesday. He never left." Her face went white. She started stuttering, saying maybe it was a different day. I said, "No, you said Wednesday. You said 11 a.m. I was eating lunch with him in our kitchen. Our son was in his high chair." She had nothing. She just said, "Oh, maybe I was mistaken," and got out of the car. I drove home shaking. I told my husband. He was confused, then angry. We pulled up the baby monitor footage from Wednesday. There he was at the kitchen table eating a sandwich, me across from him, our son babbling. No Barbie blonde anything. I texted Sarah that night. I asked her why she lied. She didn't respond for hours. Then she sent a long message saying she was just trying to protect me and that she must have seen someone who looked like him. I didn't buy it. I called her. She wouldn't pick up. The next day I went to her house. She wouldn't open the door. I could see her peeking through the curtains. I yelled, "Why are you doing this?" No answer. I haven't spoken to her since. But I've been thinking about it. She's not married. She doesn't have kids. She always seemed a little jealous of my life. I remember a few months ago she made a comment about how I never have time for her anymore because of my husband and son. I brushed it off. Now I wonder if she was planning this for a while. I told a mutual friend about it. That friend said Sarah had been saying things about my husband for weeks, little comments about how he was too nice and probably cheating. I never heard any of it because Sarah only said it when I wasn't around. I think she wanted to break up my marriage. Maybe she thought if I was single, we'd hang out more, travel together like we used to. Maybe she was jealous of what I had. Maybe she's just lonely and broken and couldn't stand to see me happy. But that doesn't excuse it. She tried to destroy my family. She made up a lie that could have torn us apart if I hadn't been home that day. I've decided to cut her out of my life completely. I blocked her number. I'm not going to her gym class anymore. I'm not explaining myself to anyone. If she shows up at my house, I'll call the police. I thought I was overreacting at first. I kept asking myself, maybe she really believed she saw him. But no, she was too specific. She described a woman I've never seen. She picked a day when she knew I was supposed to be out of town. She didn't know the trip was canceled. She didn't know we were home. That's the scary part. She had a whole plan. She was ready to sell me a story, and if I hadn't been in the right place at the right time, I might have believed her. I might have confronted my husband. I might have ruined everything. Betrayal doesn't always come with a knife. Sometimes it comes with a smile and a hug and a whispered lie. And you don't see it coming until it's right in front of your face. But some betrayals cut deeper because they come from family, the people who are supposed to have your back no matter what. I'm 25. My stepsister is 23. Our parents married when I was 4 and she was 3, so we grew up together. We were close. I loved her like a real sister. When she was diagnosed with cancer at 14, I gave up everything. I quit my volleyball team, threw a tantrum about it, got punished, but eventually accepted it. I got a job to help with the medical bills. I drove her to appointments. I missed dances, parties, sleepovers. I did it willingly mostly. My parents were overprotective of her and I understood. She was sick. She needed us. She made a full recovery after 2 years. We moved on. I went to college, met a guy named Ben when I was a junior. We fell hard, moved in together after graduation. 3 years of living together, talking about marriage, planning a future. I thought he was the one. Then in July, I came home early from work, walked into our bedroom. And there they were, my sister, my boyfriend, in our bed. I didn't scream, I just stood there. She looked at me and for a second I saw shame. Then it was gone. He scrambled to cover himself. I walked out. I broke up with him that night. He moved out. My sister apologized, but then she backed off. I thought she was giving me space. I thought maybe she regretted it. A week later she called, asked if we could meet up at a restaurant. I said yes. I thought maybe she wanted to apologize properly. Instead, she told me she and Ben were in love. They were going to start posting photos online. She said she was telling me as a courtesy. I didn't say a word. I just got up, walked out, left her alone at the table. I didn't pay my portion of the bill. She Venmo'd me later, asking for the money. I ignored it. That night my parents called me to their house. They sat me down and told me they were disappointed in me for not supporting my sister's relationship. They brought up her cancer. They said I should be grateful she was alive, that I was being selfish and petty. I tried to explain that she had slept with my boyfriend of 3 years. They didn't care. They said I needed to get over it. I told them I needed time. They said I was being dramatic. My dad even set up a dinner with the whole family, said he wanted to mediate. I agreed to go. I showed up at the restaurant. I waited. No one came. I called my dad. He said, "We decided not to come. We think you need to apologize to your sister first." I sat there alone for 20 minutes, then I left. That was the last time I tried. Over the next few months, I started hearing things from mutual friends. Ben was miserable. He had moved in with my sister, but they were fighting all the time. He told a friend that he regretted leaving me, that he had only gotten with my sister because she threw herself at him and he was weak. He said he missed me. I didn't care. My sister, meanwhile, started posting all over social media. Photos of them together, captions about how they were meant to be. She even tagged me in one. I blocked her. My parents kept reaching out. My mom sent long emails about forgiveness, about how family is forever, about how I was breaking my sister's heart. I deleted them without reading. Then about 6 months later, I got a text from an unknown number. It was Ben. He said he had left my sister. He said he realized he'd made a terrible mistake. He asked if I would meet him for coffee. I wrote back one sentence: "I hope you find happiness, but I never want to see you again." I blocked him. My sister called me after that, crying. She said Ben had told her he still loved me, that he had only been using her. She said she was sorry. She said she was miserable. She asked if we could be sisters again. I told her, maybe one day, but not now. You made your choice. You knew what you were doing. You didn't care about me. You cared about yourself. She started yelling. She said I was cruel, that I didn't understand what it was like to be sick, to think you might die, to want to grab happiness wherever you could. I said that doesn't give you the right to destroy my happiness. She hung up. I haven't spoken to her in 2 years. My parents still bring it up sometimes. They say I'm holding a grudge. They say I should be the bigger person. I tell them I am the bigger person. I'm moving on with my life, building my own happiness without people who lie and cheat and betray. I have a new boyfriend now. He knows the whole story. He says he can't believe my family did that to me. I tell him it's okay. Not everyone deserves a place in your life. The last I heard, my sister is single. She posted something a few weeks ago about how she's finding herself. I didn't read it. I just scrolled past. Sometimes betrayal is a punch to the gut from someone you trusted with your life. And sometimes the only way to heal is to walk away and never look back. I thought I knew what loyalty looked like. I thought family meant something. But I learned that blood doesn't make you family, love does. And when you choose to hurt the people who love you, you don't get to call yourself family anymore. I'm not bitter, I'm not angry, I'm just done, and that's okay.